When you think about a car that can drift well, a muscle car probably isn't the first thing that comes to mind. Sure, they've got the power, but drifting is more than just that. A good drift car needs to be rear-wheel drive so the back wheels can lose grip while the front wheels steer. These cars need a good amount of power and torque to keep those rear wheels spinning. Having the right weight balance helps a lot in keeping the car controlled during a drift. Drift cars also need a good steering angle, which lets the driver make big adjustments to keep the car sideways. Plus, a stiff suspension helps keep the car stable. Muscle cars have big V8s and tons of torque, but do they really have what it takes to be good at drifting? What else do they need to go sideways like a pro? To figure out if muscle cars can drift, we need to look at what makes them tick. The good news is they're all rear-wheel drive, which is a must for drifting, and they have power, lots of it. We're talking about engines like the Mustang GT's 5.0-liter V8 with 450 horsepower, or the Dodge Challenger Hellcat's beastly 6.2-liter supercharged V8 that puts out 700 horsepower. That's a whole lot of power to break those rear tires loose. But power isn't everything. Muscle cars are heavy, really heavy. The Challenger Hellcat, for example, weighs over 4,400 pounds. Compare that to a drift favorite like the Nissan S15, which is only about 2,750 pounds. That extra weight can make it tough to keep a drift going smoothly. Let's dig into these cars a little more. The Ford Mustang's actually one of the better muscle cars for drifting. It's got that 5.0-liter V8, it's rear-wheel drive, and it's a bit more balanced than some other muscle cars. Ford even added an electronic drift brake to the 2024 Mustang to help it get sideways. And here's a fun fact, Mustangs are used in professional drifting, even in Formula Drift. So they must be doing something right. With the right setup, these could be a really good choice for someone looking to start drifting. It will take some practice, but the Mustang has proven to be a very capable drift car in the right hands. But the Dodge Challenger, especially the Hellcat, is a different story. It has all that power, but it's super heavy, and its wide body makes it hard to control in tight drifts. The suspension is made more for comfort and straight-line speed than for the kind of handling you need in drifting. Even the Drift King, Keiichi Tsuchiya, said a Hellcat was dangerous to drift because it's so hard to control once it starts sliding. These were built to be kings of the drag strip, and that is where they truly shine. Drifting is not its strong suit, but that does not mean it can't be done. It will just take a whole lot more effort to get it right. Then there's the Chevrolet Camaro. It's lighter than the Challenger, with the SS model having a 6.2-liter V8 that makes 455 horsepower. It's still heavy though, at around 3,900 pounds. The suspension's a bit stiffer than the Challenger's, but the steering angle is still not great for drifting. But the Camaro ZL1 has a performance traction management system that can actually help with drifting if you set it up right. It's somewhere in the middle when it comes to drifting potential. It could be a good starting point, but it definitely has its issues to work out. It will take a lot of practice and maybe some modifications, but it can drift if you really try. So, we know that some muscle cars are better at drifting than others. What does it really take to turn a regular muscle car into a proper drift machine? What changes do you need to make? Well, you have to fix some of its weak points. First, you need to cut weight. Taking out things like the back seats and soundproofing can help. Then you need a stiffer suspension. Things like coilovers and sway bars can make a big difference. You also need a better steering angle, so drift-specific steering racks are a good idea. Wider, grippier front tires help with control, while harder rear tires make it easier to slide. And a hydraulic handbrake can help start drifts more easily than the stock one. All these changes can turn a muscle car from a straight-line monster into something that can handle the corners too. But hold on a second, did you know that even in the world of professional drifting, not all muscle cars are what they seem? What if I told you that some of the most famous muscle cars used in drifting have been changed so much that they're barely muscle cars anymore? It's true. Take Vaughn Gittin Jr.'s Ford Mustang RTR in Formula Drift. Sure, it looks like a Mustang, but it's been heavily modified. Many pro drift cars, even the ones based on muscle cars, have had tons of weight removed and their steering totally redone to keep up with their lighter, more specialized drift cars. They might start as muscle cars, but they end up being something else entirely. Other examples are drivers like Dean Carney, who uses a Dodge Viper, and Chelsea Denofa, who also uses a Ford Mustang. So, can a stock muscle car drift? Yes, but it's not going to be easy or pretty. A stock Mustang GT has a chance, but a stock Challenger Hellcat is going to be a real handful. If you're serious about drifting a muscle car, be ready to make some changes and put in a lot of practice. You'll need to learn how to handle all that weight and power. It's a whole different ballgame compared to a lighter, purpose-built drift car. It will take a lot of seat time and adjustments to get it right. We've talked about how hard it is to drift a stock muscle car, but what about those heavily modified ones? How different are they from the cars you can buy at a dealership? Why are these changes so important for drifting? The changes made to pro drift cars are huge. They're not just tweaking a few things, they're rebuilding these cars from the ground up. It's like taking a regular burger and turning it into a gourmet meal. Same basic idea, but totally different in how it's made and how it performs. These modifications are essential because drifting puts different demands on a car than regular driving or even drag racing. You need that balance, that control, and that ability to make quick adjustments mid-slide. Without these changes, the cars just wouldn't be able to perform at the level needed for professional drifting. These cars are often stripped down to their bare bones. We're talking about removing anything that isn't needed for drifting. This can include interior panels, rear seats, and even parts of the dashboard. It's all about making the car as light as possible. Then they add in roll cages, racing seats, and harnesses to keep the driver safe and secure. It's a serious transformation that takes these cars from street cruisers to track warriors. The suspension's another major area of change. Stock muscle car suspension is made for a comfortable ride and straight-line acceleration. But in drifting, you need a suspension that can handle quick changes in direction and keep the car stable while it's sideways. This usually means installing coilovers, which are adjustable shocks and springs that let you fine-tune the car's handling. They also add things like stiffer sway bars and adjustable control arms to get the car's geometry just right for drifting. And then there's the steering. Stock muscle cars don't have a very wide steering angle, which limits how much you can turn the wheels. In drifting, you need a lot of steering angle to keep the car sideways and make corrections as needed. So they install custom steering racks that allow for much wider angles. This lets the driver keep the car at extreme angles without spinning out. It's a crucial modification for any serious drift car. It also lets the driver make very fine adjustments while drifting, which is a very important part. If you really enjoyed this deep dive into whether muscle cars can drift, smash that button and share it with your friends. Got an opinion or a question about drifting muscle cars? Drop it in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more in-depth car content. See you next time.